Germany's industries are collapsing, families freezing, public debt is exploding, but somehow, Berlin insists that the checks to Kiev must continue. If you thought that Ukraine was only infiltrated by corruption, then you thought wrong. Ukraine was built on corruption, marketed as virtue, and financed by Europe's working class. Hello and welcome again to the Edge of Politics podcast. Geopolitical Queen here with today's episode on how Germany is collapsing its industrial base to bankroll golden toilets in Kiev. So what happened again? In the midst of €100 million rocket buried inside the Ukrainian Guatem, the national nuclear operator and the very company responsible for keeping Ukrainians alive through winter, Germany wires another €40 million straight into the same cesspool. This wasn't sent after audits, reforms, or any alternative accountability, but during the investigations of the scandal. And Guatem is burning under criminal investigations. Justice Minister German Galushenko and Energy Minister Svetlana Hrynichuk have both resigned. Zelensky's billionaire fixer Mendich managed to flee hours before the NABU raided his properties. And while Ukraine's own anti-corruption bureau calls Guatem a high-level criminal organization, what does Germany do? Berlin steps forward with a fresh €40 million transfer for Ukraine's energy sector. If this €40 million transfer is not nationally offensive enough, it cannot be less an evidence of complicity and proof that Western governments would rather bankroll a collapsing puppet regime than admit that their frontline democracy is a gangster state. We were told to believe that the Maidan coup in 2014 was about ending corruption, breaking free from oligarchy, and fighting corruption. The organizers, led by Victoria Nuland, promised Ukrainians a new era of transparency, accountability, Western values, and the rule of law. They claimed that the revolution was a revolt against Yanukovych's villas and golden toilets. But what are we witnessing today in 2025? Volodymyr Zelensky, through his proxies, allies, and network, are outdoing every predecessor combined. The golden toilets returned, not in the mansions of 2014, but in the apartments of Zelensky's own circle. Zelensky's casting agency, Quartal 95, magically turned into a drone manufacturing company with no bid contracts. Ukrainians just see ministers resign only after the evidence becomes impossible to bury. they are now seeing a revolution betrayed not by Russia, but by those who waved its flag for Western applause. What NABU, the investigative organization in Ukraine, found out wasn't corruption at the margins, but rather corruption in the source code of the Ukrainian state. Contracts for nuclear shielding, grid repair, wartime fortifications, emergency infrastructure, all siphoned, schemed, or padded for insiders tied directly to Zelensky's orbit. This wasn't a leak in the system. This was the system. NABU called it a high-level criminal organization. In any other country, that phrase would have triggered resignations at the top. But in Ukraine, it triggers another tranche of Western funding, this time via Germany. Is this not state-enabled money laundering funded by German taxpayers? So with each gesture, and such gestures as we are seeing, can the world continue to accept and listen to lectures from Brussels about something they claim to be known as the rule of law, or sermons about fighting autocracy? Which part of a hollow virtue signaling government that wires billions into offshore accounts of their puppet leaders while their own citizens freeze, their industries crumble, and their pensioners ration heat should be taken seriously? In France, French families on the other side are also tightening belts, while drone contractors linked to Zelensky throw champagne-soaked galas. The European Union has sacrificed its farmers, its manufacturers, and its energy independence on the altar of a regime that is now proven to be more corrupt than the one the Maidan coup overthrew in 2014. This is the sovereign Ukraine future that is supposed to be rooted in European values. The most expensive lie Europe has ever told itself. A lie so deep that the only way out is how to keep funding it, no matter how much it smells like decay and manure. So what do you think? Has the democratic rule of law, that wonderful velvet curtain, fallen right before our eyes? Or the myth is now lying in pieces? Well, kindly leave your comments in the comment section below, and thanks for tuning in. I will be back with the next broadcast. Good day.